and welcome to MPE TV. I'm Melisande Mual, Managing Director of the Paypers, and I'm here today with Abhish, Saha, General Manager at Merchant Suite, and Peter Kovacs, Senior Product Manager at the New York Times. So Peter, how is the current payment landscape challenging merchants selling digital goods today?
Well, Melisande, we're a U.S. merchant, the New York Times. Most of our current subscription base, our current customers, are paying with credit card. What we've noticed is basically the U.S., the English-speaking markets are central to North America, UK, Australia. We're finding that these markets, a lot of people are using credit cards as their major payment instrument. But as we start looking outside, we start seeing that that's not the case. Through research and data, we began to find that a lot of people in the EU, Germany, they don't like credit. So they're really taking a turn towards different payment instruments. So what we've seen through our research is implementing the local payment type, the preferred payment type of those markets, really helps our acquisition and recurring. So for example, we launched SEPA Direct Debit a couple years ago in the EU, and we're seeing like almost astronomically good acceptance rates across the EU when people move over to those. We're also seeing that, you know, when you can't put 50 payment types in front of every person in the world, it's very difficult for us to narrow that down. And from an engineering perspective, it's nearly impossible to justify having all these different payment instruments roll out when we're not going to get a lot of subscribers. So what we're looking at doing is pushing out wallets. So we already offer PayPal on our digital subscriptions. We're giving Apple Pay as a way in the United States. We're currently looking to size and understand what Google Pay offering is. And then in markets like India, we're looking at Paytm. So we're really trying to just focus the payment types on the markets and saying, okay, for the smaller markets, for us as the merchant, what kind of wallets can we push? Because as we know, the wallets probably accept every single payment instrument for that country or region. So we're kind of banking on that to help our acceptance rates move forward. The other thing that we're really looking at is really just getting out of the standard payment instruments. We've been looking at carrier billing as options, because even in other markets like Africa and developing nations, they've skipped banking and everybody's got a cell phone. So we're trying to look at the opportunity there to see if that's how people are paying. And those seem to be in more cash-based economies, again, like developing nations that kind of skip the credit card phenomenon.
Yeah, Melisande, and as what Peter was saying, from what we're finding, with the thousands of merchants that we're talking to in terms of their subscription-based services and their recurring billing, there are so many different payment options there, and I mean the way we're helping to simplify that is by using tokenization that's just not only focusing on card tokenization, but also tokenizing things like bank accounts and sort of call it wallet tokens as well, to effectively take away the complexity of having to route different transactions to different payment methods, and having that on our platform. So that's one way of simplifying payment operations. And I think the other common sort of pain point for subscription services providers are declines and handling renewals. So they're sort of the other main pain points that we're finding that they're having issues with, and oomping up the customer experience on those elements also help reduce things like churn on the subscription base.
Yeah. And Peter, how do you deal with these? What do you see as core challenges if you offer recurring payments? So you obviously sell subscriptions. So what kind of pain points do you face in this process?
Yeah, so it's definitely the right payment type. Because if a customer doesn't have a credit card, let's say, they can't even subscribe. And then, like you said, it's the acceptance rates. It's having the ability to look into your data and see why the issuer is declining the transaction. So we have been speaking to our providers our processors, the gateway partners, and really kind of engaging them and kind of trying to force their hand and come back to us and do some in-depth analysis and tell us where are our pain points, what's causing our pain. And then we have, of course, the generic decline. As merchants, we are always looking to understand and trace why those generics are happening. You know, they generally say it's insufficient funds or a couple other things. Again, visibility into the data will show us, is that actually it? And really, what are the issuing banks that are doing it? Because it's really their choice how to respond. And a lot of them we see give us just generic declines, where other issuers might give us a lot more detail. So those really are, it's the data, getting the right payment instrument in front of everyone, and then being able to look in and see why they're declining the transactions.
And that's a common issue, you know, issuers being inconsistent in terms of how they respond to different situations, and you know, we've helped merchants look at their decline sort of data, and you know, simple things like understanding maybe the payroll cycles of the different markets, adjusting when you're debiting or when you're doing a retry against a transaction, for instance, that's been declined. Yeah. That can actually improve your acceptance rate. So they're the kind of things that we see as well.
Yeah. Talking about some other challenges, let's address regulation. So if you look into regulation for this year ahead, what are sort of the key challenges you are facing in that perspective?
Yeah, so what brought me to Berlin is PSD2. Literally, that's how I sold it to the company. I'm like, I have to go there to speak to them and other merchants, and there's a lot of people here who are obviously going through the same questions and pains in preparation for this. So that's a big one. Then we're also seeing the brands. Visa is coming out with their express consent rule, where for free trials, somebody at the end of the free trial, we have to put on the soft descriptor that it was for a free trial. We have to notify them. We have to give them the ability to opt out of recurring payments. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward what we have to do, but it's a lot of work. And I do recommend to merchants, don't just do it for Visa, because everybody else is going to follow suit. Also in the United States, what we're seeing are a lot of states are having these express consent for recurring billing, where they are allowing customers to go in and just opt out of the recurring payment. So we're trying to, through marketing and through just notifying the customer, and also through engagement, trying to build their loyalty to the brand so they know the value that we bring to them. So they'll always click, yes, we want you to charge us. And those are really the big ones that are hitting us these days.
Yeah, and what aspects of PSD2 and the stronger customer authentication part would you like to learn here? I mean, what are your sort of key questions or keeps you awake?
Well, so since we are an American merchant, and our acquirer is in the US, everybody's telling us we're exempt. So I'm very, very skeptical. I believe them that we're exempt. I'm just scared that the issuer is just going to look at the transaction and not know that we're an American company with an American acquirer and just fail it anyway. So it's really reducing the risk as much as we can and talking to the processing community, all the companies that are represented here, and asking them, what should we be doing? Is there anything, like, do we put that authentication in and, take the time to put it in? Or is there other things? Do you have back-end tools that we can use, like an exemption tool or something, to make sure that we don't see an impact on our approval rates?
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Peter. Thanks, Abhish. And it was great talking to you this morning. And thank you.